walked 550 kilometres across Spain with one carry-on backpack, and I still managed to buy 2 pairs of shoes along the way. So let's talk about the other side of packing, the unglamorous side, the stuff I overpacked, the stuff I ditched along the way, and the stuff I wished I'd bought instead. This is an honest packing video. It's a companion piece to my last video, the 10 tiny things that made the biggest difference. Except this time it's the opposite category, all the things I overpacked and didn't need. If you're planning a Camino, or just enjoy watching people make expensive gear mistakes in beautiful places across Europe, follow along. There's a common thread across all Camino review videos, and that's the idea that your pack should be less than 10% of your body weight. But that's complicated when you're a 60-kilo woman, and that only leaves you 6 kilos. So I think the rule is good, but there needs to be some common sense. The real goal isn't a magic number. It's carrying as little as you can without making yourself miserable. The Camino isn't wilderness. You walk through a town every day, sometimes every couple of hours. There's shops, pharmacies, and even outdoor stores. So every just-in-case item you're agonising over, you can buy along the way, if you need it. And most likely, you won't. Footwear is the classic rookie era, and I should know because I was the rookie. I bought hiking shoes that I had tried out on trails across the world. They were comfortable, familiar, and full of memories, all of which turned out to be irrelevant once I was doing the Camino. 2 things went wrong. 1, they were always a bit too big, and they were loose enough that my feet slid around on them, which was a problem on long Camino days. Secondly, they were washed really carefully one night, and I forgot to dry them out. So the next morning when I put my foot in them, it was like stepping into a puddle, and my socks and shoes were wet all day. Wet socks, wet boots, and feet sliding around are the most perfect environment for blisters. And once you have blisters on a Camino, they don't politely heal up and go away when you're walking 25 to 30 Ks a day. They come, they stay, and they invite friends. So I ditched the boots in Bilbao and bought a white pair of Merrell trail runners, pure white, on the Camino. That was a very bold choice, but I honestly didn't have any other choices at that point. Then in Astorga, while the blister crisis was in full swing, I bought another pair of trail shoes, Topo trail runners with that wide toe box in a colour I would only describe as emergency lime. I would never choose lime yellow shoes in real life, but by this stage, I didn't have a real life. I just had wide toe box envy, and that was enough. I don't even know how much they cost. Here's a lesson I actually learned in the most expensive way. Your feet change over a long hike. They swell from heat, distance, downhill pounding, the weight of your pack. So wear your shoes in before you leave home. Size up, but make sure they fit your foot properly. Get a shoe with a wide toe box. And never, ever walk in wet socks and shoes if you can avoid it. I watched plenty of YouTube review videos before I left, and some of the things I bought were just because the videos told me so. Exhibit 1, the soap and shampoo bar. Every packing video is in love with these. 1 bar to wash your hair, your body, your clothes, your sins, and even your doubts. It sounded perfect, but in practice, it dried my skin and turned my hair to actual straw. And there's a reason for that, because a lot of these bars are really just soap. And soap is alkaline, whereas your scalp and hair need something more acidic. When you wash your hair in something alkaline, it roughens up all the cuticles, making your hair rough and tangled and, well, exactly like straw. If you really want to take a solid bar, consider getting a balanced, soap-free shampoo bar. Your hair will thank you. The Camino teaches you simplicity, but it does require you to have hair the texture of a broom. Exhibit 2, Chacos sandals. I feel almost sacrilegious saying this because they're pilgrim-approved gospel, according to Camino videos. I just could never really break them in. And the main problem is this crazy long strap. It's really just like a trip hazard. I actually contacted the company to ask how people solve this problem, but I didn't get a response. So I resorted to the forums and found that lots of other people have this problem too. One common solution is to tie a knot in the strap, but that makes it impossible to adjust the strap as needed. I swapped that option for Tevas sandals. I feel like they're just so much more comfortable. They're padded across the ankles and across the foot, and they can be modified all over by these Velcro straps, so they really fit your foot. And I love the way the tread is so solid. It can actually be used as a backup for hiking boots if something goes wrong with your boots, like blisters on the trail. So I switched to Tevas and I never looked back. There are some things that ended up just being dead weight that I thought I should bring because Camino review videos told me to. First up, the headlamp. I did carry this the whole way because I thought it seemed sensible. But in actual fact, when we walked in the dark, like some early mornings when we had a long day on the trail, we just used our phone torches and that was perfect. And second, the emergency medicine stash. That's the same energy. I bought Panadol and various other things that one, I didn't need, and two, I could easily buy along the way. Of course, don't mess with any medications that you really need or anything on prescription. But for all the extra things, there's literally a pharmacy in every town. Leather sneakers. Experienced pilgrims, look away now because I'm sure this will make you cringe. I packed them because I thought they might suffice if I needed going out shoes. There's a really cool pilgrim aesthetic, but that just involves boots and outdoor wear. So it turned out I didn't have any need for special going out sneakers. So I ditched them by León. It's a shame because I loved those sneakers in my previous life. But now I was living Camino life. So any extra weight had to go. The next thing to go was a paper guidebook. I love the romance of one, but in practical terms, all the information you need is on your Camino app. And the guidebook is just extra weight. Ditched. Next item was this hoodie. It failed at the main job I'd given it. One, it lost its shape after a few hand washes. The worst thing was the hood didn't fit properly over my cap, so it was really useless for sun protection, which was one of the main reasons I bought it. Not everything was a disaster. There were some swaps that really worked. The best one was fleece. I started with this bulky North Face fleece, but switched to the more technical Marmot fleece before we left. I didn't know much about technical fleece, but it turns out to be really important. So let's talk about it. Technical fleece usually has that honeycomb grid on the inside, and that grid is one of the rare bits of outdoor design that actually does something. The raised bumps trap warm air, the channels between them let moisture escape. Warmth without bulk, breathable without being flimsy. On the Camino, where you're hot, cold, sweaty, rained on, then standing dead still outside a bar waiting for a tortilla, this one matters. One non-Camino regret while we're here is buying outdoor gear on sale. Often the reason it's on sale is because it's a strange colour that no one else wants to buy. So it's super tempting, but you will probably resent that colour for many years to come. Ask me how I know. Jeans were an easy goodbye. I really live in jeans, so I find it hard to imagine going without them for 9 weeks. But they're bulky, hard to wash, slow to dry, and weigh a ton. I tossed them and I never regretted it. I decided instead to live in my hiking pants and one pair of wide-legged activewear pants. Underwear was weirdly the hardest core. I bought a pair which are recommended for ultra-lightweight packing, but they are also ultra-flimsy, which didn't cut it on some rugged trails. The clear winner was Uniqlo. They stood up to daily washing, dried super fast, they were comfortable and stayed in position. One random purchase in San Sebastian is a little knife, which is super important. You can often buy lovely fresh rolls along the Camino and add a bit of cheese and tomato or ham on, and you've got a perfect lunch to eat while you're lying on the grass looking up at the sky or sitting on a wall contemplating how many more kilometres you have to go. So what do I wish I'd bought that I didn't bring? First up, a proper wide-brimmed hat, not a cap, and not a hoodie pretending to be sun protection. A proper wide-brimmed hat. Your face is in the sun all day, and even a perfectly fitted hood over a cap is no match for a brim. I own a perfect hat, and I've taken it on all my other walks, but at the last moment, I left it at home and decided to take a cap and a hoodie instead. It was a bad call. 2 properly tested sports bras. I've tried out so many different sports bras over the years, and I've never really found any to be very comfortable. So I took my usual sports bras, but a little bit of discomfort can amplify over days and weeks of hiking. Luckily, I found these Under Armour sports bras in a sports shop in Bilbao. I swapped to these and never looked back. Next item is a bum bag or a fanny pack, depending on what country you come from and what level of dignity you aspire to. They don't look very cool, but they do really work. You can stash your tissues, snacks, mobile phone, sunscreen stick, all the things you reach for often are right there, not buried in the bottom of your pack under your wet weather gear. And the last item I should have bought more of is more toe socks. I only bought 1 pair because I had another favourite pair that I also thought were worth bringing. But when I started getting blisters, I really needed the toe socks. Luckily, there was a sportswear shop along the trail in Astorga where I was able to buy Camino-themed toe socks. Now, there's one thing I'm probably still conflicted about, whether I should have bought it or not. And it's quite a debate in pilgrim circles. And that is headphones, or in my case, AirPods. They're tiny, they're light, and over a 9-week trip to Europe with plane flights and train trips, you really couldn't do it without them. But on the Camino, there's other questions. The temptation was obvious, and I definitely succumbed to it. It's so tempting to put on a podcast or music and get you through all those hours of walking each day. But here's what kept nagging at me. A lot of people do the Camino to have time to think. Something happens to your brain when you do day after day of walking. It's like a meditation, and it opens up spaces in your brain for daydreaming, deep thoughts, and connections. A lot of people do the Camino to give themselves time to think, or for a spiritual experience. Some people even say the Camino talks to you if you give it time. When you're walking, maybe slightly bored, not really focused on anything, you give your brain space for daydreaming and mind wandering, and even tackling some of those questions you've been putting off for too long. It's possible that wearing AirPods is like turning off that switch and filling your brain up with external stimulus. So every hour I spent with something playing was an hour I wasn't giving the Camino the silence to do its thing. Funny thing is, most of the pilgrims I met said the same thing about headphones. They preferred to spend their day listening to bird songs, their footsteps, church bells, cows, and general pilgrim chatter. So would I bring them again? Yes. But would I use them differently? Also yes. I definitely ration them. I'd use them for some of the hard hills and maybe the long afternoons when you're really tired. Otherwise, I'd stash them in my backpack and make them hard to reach. So if I did it all again, I'd still watch the packing videos, but I'd make sure I used everything well beforehand, and I'd really check to see that it was suitable for me personally before I packed it. I'd take foot swelling seriously and never walk in wet shoes. And I definitely pack less of the just-in-case things, and remember that I could buy them all the way along the Camino. And most of what you think you need to pack is just anxiety that you'll have to carry up all the hills, because the lighter the pack isn't just about your shoulders. It's about the freedom of realizing how little you really need. The Camino teaches you this gently at first, and then it adds hills. So tell me in the comments, what were your packing errors? And I'm genuinely interested because I need to feel better about the 3 pairs of shoes. And if you want the other side of this, the 10 tiny things that made the biggest difference on Camino, I'll link to it in description. So subscribe and walk with us. There's definitely more road to come.